Cloud. Hello, I'm Jennifer Keller, the Programming Coordinator at the Westport Library. During this time of enforced isolation and some supply shortages, some of us might be considering growing our own food this year for the first time. Alice Ely, Yukon Advanced Master Gardener and Master Composter and Garden Chair at the Wakeman Town Farm, is with me to share information on how to get started planting in those pots, barrels, strange tires that you found while clearing out recently. So thank you for your time, Alice. And can you just tell us how to get started?
Absolutely, Jennifer, I'm really excited to be sharing this topic here with you today because so many people have been asking me over the last few weeks, how do we do this? Where do I start? So I put together a few slides and I'm going to share them with you now. And this should give you a really good where to begin basic tips. So here we go. Okay, so growing veggies in containers. Such a good thing to do. First of all, if you really want to know your food, you grow your food. Growing in containers makes a really great first veggie gardener, and it starts with some things that you already have, as Jennifer mentioned, that you're probably going to find in your garage. Doing a container veggies is more economical than raised beds, may even help protect your crops from deer and other critters. It's more manageable, easier to work with than full-size garden beds. Convenient for cooks. Surprisingly versatile veggie choices are yours to try. Delightful to look at as well as to eat. And it's very scalable to your needs and ability. You can start with just one lot if you want to. So, some things though aren't so flexible. One of them is light. Location, 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 as the realtors say. You must have a minimum of 6 hours sunlight for most veggies. Now, just one consistent patch of sun in your yard can do it. So if you scout around, you find that one spot that's almost always got sunlight on it, go for it. Be sure to make it as convenient as you can to the hose, the water source, because you are going to be watering this a lot. Close to the kitchen for easy harvesting is a really great idea. And get creative to figure out a way to keep it protected from deer raids. About those deer raids. Ideally, you've got a raised deck or a terrace or something with a railing maybe a pool enclosure. Maybe you're one of those lucky ones who has a permanent deer fence on part of your property. If not, you can improvise a deer fence. We can talk about that later. Structures that may block or deter deer access. If you've got a sunny spot that's kind of in an alcove of your house, deer don't like to get into places where they feel stuck. That might be a good place to try. You've got a dog, his help. But unlike with flowers, deer repellent sprays and powders cannot be used on veggies. You wouldn't spray something icky on your food, would you? So. Here's my favorite solution, no deer here. See that railing on the second story in the window box? Look at somebody's got a nice veggie garden going there. Getting started. As Jennifer mentioned, repurposing pots you already have, borrowing them. Look at what you can use. An old window box, something that gift bush came in. Why buy when you can upcycle containers? You just need to have something at least 6 inches deep. The ideal diameter is 10 inches or more. And think out of the pot. Maybe you've got a wooden wine crate, an old oak barrel, old galvanized pails, plastic tubs or basins, clay pots, woven bags, garbage pails, you name it. Beware though of, quote, self-watering containers. They have a tendency to get waterlogged if there's a lot of rain. So if you've got one, you may have to drill a hole in it. Anything that allows drainage is what you need. When you get your used pot, be sure to clean it out with diluted bleach. A 1-to-10 ratio will do, and rinse it well. That's because there may be fungi lingering from the last thing that grew in it. As I mentioned, add drainage holes if none are present. You've just got to have drainage holes. If it has really large holes, put a coffee filter in the bottom of the pot to keep the soil from leaking out. If you're putting on hardscape that you care about, like your pretty new deck, protect the surface by putting a saucer or drip hay underneath. Now, choosing your soil mix. Strictly speaking, the best potting mix is soil-less. Soil-less potting mixes can be purchased at a nursery, hardware store, garden center, or you can make it at home if you're very do-it-yourself by buying the raw ingredients and using your own compost. Organic choices are recommended. Add your own compost, feel free if you have it, but not more than 1/3 of the total volume. Never just go and get some topsoil or garden dirt. It's not the right texture, it's too heavy for a container. It'll pack in and get muddy and the roots won't be able to breathe. Be sure to read the bag to see if it contains fertilizer, because that's going to impact how much you fertilize your crop as you go. Always buy a bit more than you think you're going to need. The next question you're going to ask yourself is seeds or starter plants. Almost any plant can be started from seed if you have enough of a head start and either indoor grow lights, a cold frame, or the foresight to do winter sowing. You're a few months late for that. So experienced gardeners like to grow from seed because they like the variety of things they can order. But if you're a beginner, buying starter plants, I always recommend as being faster, easier, and more surefire for this project. Happily, even in this time of quarantine, local nurseries are essential businesses. They're open, they're stocked, and they're very good at letting you save softly. Call ahead, talk to them about what you need, ask them the best time to come. They'll even let you pre-order your order, and then you could just pick it up. Gilberti's, Colonial Gardens are both open, ready to help you, and have a good selection of veggies available now. So, what is on the menu? There are really only 2 rules. Grow what you like to eat. There's no point going to this effort if it isn't something that you would just love to get your hands on. And grow the veggies best suited to your conditions. This is the one immutable rule of gardeners. Right plant, right place. I'm going to help you pick the right plants for your place. So, right plant, right place. If your site is hot and sunny, grow heat-loving plants. These are the ones that originated someplace south of us. Tomatoes, basil, peppers, eggplants. They love to be hot. Now, where possible, you want to pick dwarf varieties. When you're at the nursery, read the tags. Does it say cherry tomatoes, lunchbox peppers, petite, dwarf, compact on the variety name? Those are good cues that you can use them in a container and they'll be happy there. Now, if your site is critter challenge, and heck, you live in Fairfield County, that's a given. So if you know that the reason you've never had a veggie garden is because you have a herd of deer that lives in your backyard and no way to protect your crop, maybe the thing to do is to explore the wonderful world of herbs. It's a way to start, and if you love it, then maybe next year you can think about a deer fence. But herbs are great. Typically, critters do not like aromatics, and they will leave them alone. And just to make sure that your resident chipmunk or squirrel doesn't get curious to what's in the dirt, sprinkle some cayenne around the herbs when you first plant them. And don't do like a friend of mine who sprinkled the hot cayenne all over his lettuce, because you want to be able to eat it, right? So, more on right plant, right place. If you are space challenged, and you may be, think vertically. A lot of plants enjoy climbing or hanging, and you can just give them a little bit of support or encouragement, like a trellis or maybe a wire strung from above, and you can train up tomatoes, cucumbers, green beans, and there's something called a scarlet runner bean, which is a delightful bean to eat dry, but it also has beautiful red flowers that attract hummingbirds. So I call that a win. Those are all things that you can train up if you don't have a lot of space. If your site is only partly sunny, Choose veggies which are not as heat loving as the tomato, for example. Chard is a great thing. Spinach, arugula, lettuce, mint, kale, all of these will make do with a little bit less than that perfect 6 hours between 10 and 4. Not a lot less. They'll sulk if you try to get them to grow in a lot less, but a little less you can. And by the way, you'll notice beautiful, colorful, growing in the middle of that galvanized bucket in my picture. That is rainbow Swiss chard. It comes up in all different colors. Talk about a way to get a kid to eat their vegetables when it's the color of a rainbow. It's great. And people ask me how to cook Swiss chard. I say anything you would do with spinach, you can do with Swiss chard. It's a great vegetable. If you are time challenged, and that could be because you didn't get started soon enough, or you just want instant results, plant veggies which grow quickly, such as radishes, baby greens, lettuces, and microgreens. You can have a crop in a month. Keep in mind, with these quick to grow, quick to harvest crops, you'll have time to plant a second crop to enjoy afterward. They're ideal for succession sowing, and for that second crop, that's where you maybe can experiment with sowing some seeds and see how you do. Those are fun things to try. All right, so I've given you some ideas about plants, and at your nursery, you may get a few more. Ready, set, plant. You got your site figured out, your pots, your soil, and your plants. Here's what you do. You moisten the soil so it's wet, not sopping wet, not dripping. You fill the pot half full with soil, you let it settle, add a bit more, then you tip the plant out of its little container, loosen the roots with your fingers so that they aren't all bound and wrapping around each other. You want them out into the pot, set the plant in the middle of the pot, fill it up with soil mixed to the neck of the plant. That's a really important beginner's mistake is they put their plots in too high, their plants, the roots are up above the soil line. That's not good. So make sure you got it to the neck of the plant. Pat the soil in around it after you've settled the plant. Press, do not mash. You don't want to press out all the little tiny air spaces in the soil. That's how the roots breathe. Give the plant a good drink of water and let it adjust for a day out of the strong sun before you move it to its permanent home. If you want, tuck in a little fine textured mulch around the base of the plant. Soon you won't need it because the plant will be big enough to create its own shade. So you're ready to go. Watering. This is where it's so much more critical than a regular garden, is staying on top of the watering. Garden plants, you can leave alone. If you've had an inch of rain in a week, you're fine. But container plants need much more. A large plant in a medium pot in the sun could use daily watering on hot sunny days. So you want to check that every day. Remember, their roots are depending on you. Water evaporates faster from containers. They can't go deeper to get more water like a plant in the ground can. So if the pot feels a little light when you lift it, it probably needs water. One other caution, too much can be as bad as too little. If you know a torrential downpour is coming, drag your pots under an eave or overhang if you can, because otherwise that pot may just get so sodden, you're starting to drown your plant. So be careful about that. Veggies do need nutrients, more so than flowers. They use a lot of energy to make that product that you're going to eat. So frequent watering too, as you have to do with a small container, washes out the nutrients, and the captive roots quickly exhaust what was in the pot. So you need to add fertilizer. I've shown here a couple options, something that you can dissolve in water and add as you water the plants. And the rule of thumb is actively growing veggies every 2 weeks. You use a good balanced organic fertilizer. I prefer that to using chemicals. They have a tendency to build up in the soil. And be sure to follow the directions on the label. You don't need a special tomato fertilizer for your tomatoes or anything like that. Just a good, I like a liquid fish emulsion. A little stinky when you first put it on, but it's fine. If the soil mix you bought was pre-fertilized, check those directions. You may not need to start fertilizing it for the first month. Above all, I always stress this, avoid pesticides. Do you really want to spray a chemical on the thing you're going to eat? Of course not. So even organic pesticides, though, will kill both good and bad bugs. I have a little picture here of a cute little green fellow you may see if you're growing parsley, and that is the swallowtail butterfly caterpillar, beautiful green color, and turns into this beautiful yellow and black butterfly. So go ahead and share your parsley with this guy. He's not going to eat it all, and it'll reward you with a beautiful butterfly later. The green caterpillar on your kale, though, have no mercy. That belongs to the invasive cabbage butterfly, and they will infest your plants. I always say in a small garden, and certainly a container, you can just hand remove the pest. It's much better than trying to nuke them. You can use duct tape, you can even use a dust buster, but if they are eating your plant to smithereens, you want to get them off. If you've got aphids, you can blast them off with water. Aphids, you know, there'll be little teeny plants that are all over. For advice, make note, lowerfairfieldmg@gmail.com is the free Master Gardener Plant Clinic. You can email them and tell them what your problem is, and they will tell you the shall we say, poisonous way to deal with it. And the pollinator pathway will thank you. So pick for perfection. The ultimate reward for doing all of this is the amazing taste and texture of Just Pick's produce. Don't miss the moment. If you've been checking regularly, and you should, that's what good gardeners do to keep things from going sideways, you'll know when the peak is near. If you have kale or chard or lettuce, pick the outer leaves of the greens first, leave the growing center, and it'll give you more leaves that you can pick later. Pinch off annual herbs like basil and cilantro before they start flowering and bolting, and they'll be bushier and they'll last longer. Plan your dinner around what's about to be ripe, and share the wealth with a fellow veggie-phile. They'll be the first to offer help water if you have to be gone somewhere and can't get there yourself. So, in conclusion, let me run through the musts. Right plant, right place, at least 6 hours sunlight per day. Use pots that have drainage or create drainage by drilling a hole in the bottom. Consistent watering, regular addition of fertilizer every 2 weeks, protection from critters, timely harvesting, and P.S., great time to start composting too. So that's my spiel. I hope it'll inspire you to get going on your very first veggie garden. If you don't have one, I'm going to stop the share and turn it back to Jennifer. Or if you have any questions, Jennifer, hit me up.
I think that was very detailed. I'm ready to start planting myself, so I'm cool with that. I have seen some of those green caterpillars, though, the evil ones, so I'm going to go out.
Yeah. Have no mercy with those. Get them off before they make more.
Yep, exactly. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with the Westport Library community and all of Westport, or whoever's watching these videos. I really appreciate it. And for you at home, if you want more information about growing things, gardening, weeding, and check out the CAM at the Wakeman Town Farm website. It is adorable. And I hope that you'll check out westportlibrary.org for other lifestyle changing videos as well. Thank you so much.
Bye, Jennifer. Thanks.